High in the Hollywood hills, hidden behind iron gates and stories only stone can hold, sits a house where time seems to pause. It isn't just a mansion. It's where Jack Nicholson, the last wild rebel of old Hollywood, lives among memories, shadows, and golden light. Today we're stepping inside, into the home, fortune, and quiet legend of a man who once ruled the silver screen, and now watches the world from above it. Long before the velvet armchairs, the secret garage, or the canyon winds of Mulholland Drive, there was a boy named John Joseph Nicholson. Born in Neptune City, New Jersey in 1937, but already surrounded by mystery. He was raised believing his grandparents were his parents, and that his mother, June, was his sister. The truth? Hidden until he was 37. By then, she was gone. So was his grandmother. The two women who shaped him, both actresses, both complicated, left without ever telling him who his father really was. Was it the vaudeville performer she married? Was it her mysterious Latvian manager? Or someone else entirely? Jack never dwelled on the answer. Instead, he smiled and stepped into the role of a lifetime, himself. Growing up in Spring Lake, New Jersey, he was already unpredictable, a rebel in training. At Manasquan High School, he was voted class clown, a joker, a rule breaker, and somehow already a performer. But Hollywood? That felt galaxies away. Until one day, it didn't. In 1958, a young, hungry Jack landed his first role in a low-budget horror film, The Crybaby Killer. The name said it all: melodramatic, disposable, forgettable. But Jack was unforgettable. He didn't just act, he studied. He watched directors, asked questions, wrote screenplays. He partnered with Roger Corman, the king of B-movies, and for nearly a decade, he played every type of outsider: cowboys, villains, misfits, punks. Always circling the big time, but never quite breaking in. Until 1969, Easy Rider, a cultural lightning bolt. Nicholson didn't even have a leading role, but that southern-accented lawyer he played changed everything. An Oscar nomination, a new kind of screen presence, part charm, part madness, part mirror. Suddenly, Hollywood saw him. And once they did, they couldn't look away. The 70s belonged to Jack, and Jack belonged to no one. In 5 Easy Pieces, he was the piano prodigy who ran from his past. In Carnal Knowledge, he exposed the raw truths of masculinity. And then came Chinatown, J.J. Gitta's, the private eye with a past as twisted as the case he tried to solve. Nicholson wore that white suit like armor, slicing through the smog of 1970s Los Angeles with weary elegance. He wasn't just acting, he was holding up a cracked mirror to America. And then, he went mad. One flew over the cuckoo's nest. Randall McMurphy, a performance that broke hearts and cracked open the Academy. Jack won his first Oscar. He didn't thank fate. He thanked freedom. Because McMurphy, wild, defiant, tragic, wasn't a character. He was a reflection of Jack, of rebellion, of everyone who ever refused to be controlled. By the 1980s, Jack Nicholson had become something rare, an actor and a myth. He was everywhere and nowhere. He made audiences laugh in terms of endearment and shiver in The Shining, where his face breaking through the door became one of the most iconic moments in cinema history. "Here's Johnny!" The line wasn't in the script. It came from him, from instinct, from madness, from magic. Then came Batman 1989, Jack as Joker, grinning, unhinged, utterly unforgettable. He danced to Prince. He painted the town in acid and laughter. And he negotiated one of the greatest paydays in film history, Not because he needed the money, but because he understood the game. The 90s and 2000s, Jack didn't slow down. A few good men. You can't handle the truth. A line that shook courtrooms and classrooms for years. As good as it gets. A third Oscar, this time for playing a broken man learning to love again, about Schmidt. Something's Gotta Give. The Departed. The Bucket List. He played lovers, killers, fools, fathers, legends, men unraveling and rebuilding. And then he vanished. Not with a scandal, not with a scream. Just silence. Like the last scene in a great film. Today, Jack Nicholson doesn't need the spotlight, because the spotlight still remembers him. Instead, he watches the world from a fortress in the hills, a place where cinema's last great outlaw now lives in peace, surrounded by ghosts, greatness, and gold light. And now we step into that fortress, the Mulholland Drive estate, where the man, the myth, and the memories are carved into stone, silence, and soul. Estate in Mulholland Drive, high above Los Angeles, where the hills breathe solitude and the city becomes a faint shimmer in the distance, there stands a house unlike any other. This is not just a property. It's a place built to outlast applause. A fortress where Jack Nicholson, once the face of rebellion, now walks through silence, through history, through home. They call this road Bad Boy Drive, because once upon a time it was ruled by the untamable, Marlon Brando, Warren Beatty, and Jack. But now, only Jack remains, the last rebel standing. And this estate is his kingdom of memory. You arrive at dusk. Iron gates, tall and regal, rise from the stone. They don't just guard property, they guard privacy. They whisper, "Here lives someone who's seen too much to be seen by everyone." As the gates swing open, a stone-paved driveway stretches before you, lined with manicured gardens, sculpted like a dream. Towering oaks flank the path, their roots twisting deep into the hillside, ancient, like the soul of the man they shelter. The house appears slowly, not loud, not flashy, but bold, confident, eternal. A European-style compound with a kind of weathered elegance. The walls, thick with time. The roof lines, carved against the horizon. It doesn't ask to be admired. It waits to be understood. Step inside. The foyer greets you in silence, but it speaks volumes. The floor beneath your feet, custom-laid French Maison G stone, cool, textured, worn like the steps of an old cathedral. It feels ancient, deliberate, every tile a memory, every corner intentional. Brazilian rosewood inlays run along the walls, catching the amber afternoon light like polished fire. They glow, but softly, as if trying not to disturb the stories they hold. The ceilings stretch high above, vaulted, almost cathedral-like. Some say they were made to hold art. Others say they were built to hold silence. Either way, they command respect. To the left, a kitchen, but not just any kitchen. Exposed beams cradle the space, while a massive marble island anchors the center like a stage. This is where rustic meets refined. Wolf appliances hum beneath custom cabinetry, ready for feasts or solitude. Hidden behind a discreet wall, a narrow staircase rises to the media room above. A private shortcut, a secret path for a man who's always known how to disappear into a role or a room. The living room invites you next. It doesn't shout, it seduces. Velvet armchairs circle a low table. Fireplaces framed in creamy travertine crackle softly. Lamps cast golden halos across the floor. It's easy to imagine Jack here. A glass of bourbon in hand, Miles Davis spinning on the record player, and voices. Sean Penn, Hunter S. Thompson, arguing about politics, poetry, and madness until the fire dies out. This isn't a living room, it's a memory chamber. Downstairs, the indulgence deepens. A private gym, sleek, minimalist, disciplined. It reflects the man who stayed camera-ready for decades, not for vanity, but for control. Next door, a spa sanctuary. Italian travertine floors, steam room, massage tables. It smells of eucalyptus and quiet. Then comes the theater. Tiered leather seats, velvet curtains, perfect acoustics. A place not just to watch films, but to worship them. And above it all, the master suite. Floor-to-ceiling windows draw in canyon light, filtered through trees that sway like they're dancing with time. The bed is wide but not ostentatious. The sheets, linen, cool, soft, neutral. Across the room, a private office. Not just any office. This is a director's den. Shelves heavy with scripts, first editions, Lakers memorabilia. The desk, thick with history. The chair, worn but noble. The walls lined with things that mattered, not for show, but for soul. And then, almost hidden from view, beneath the entire estate, is the heartbeat of the house. A 2,000-square-foot underground garage, not just a parking space, a collector's vault carved into the mountain. Stone walls, low lighting, a sanctuary for machines that once roared down Sunset Boulevard. It's quiet now, but you can still hear the echoes. The house, after years of careful renovation and whispers of valuation, is said to be worth close to $10 million. But truthfully, that number is meaningless. Because this house isn't about market value, it's about legacy. It's about a man who built a fortress, not to flaunt, but to remember. It's a museum of laughter, a mausoleum of greatness, a sanctuary where cinema lives, long after the credits roll. And in the shadowed stillness of that underground garage sit 3 machines, 3 engines, 3 memories on wheels, each one carrying Jack, through fame, through solitude, through time. Let's open the doors and take a look. Cars. Mercedes-Benz 600, W100. The dictator's car. The first is impossible to ignore. A towering black presence with chrome fangs and a stance like royalty. This is the Mercedes-Benz 600, the car of emperors, artists, and Jack Nicholson. Built between 1963 and 1981, this wasn't just a sedan. It was a statement. Powered by a 6.3-liter V8 engine, with hydraulic everything, from seats to windows, the 600 was driven by the likes of Elvis, Lennon, and yes, dictators. But Jack, he wasn't drawn to tyranny. He was drawn to power, to the theatricality of it, to the absurdity of riding in a car that felt more like a throne on wheels. Imagine the scene. Nicholson, late 70s, shades on, cigarette lit, cruising down Sunset Boulevard in this beast, music loud, rules forgotten. It wasn't about arriving. It was about declaring, I'm here. And I'm in control. Land Rover Range Rover Classic, the escape machine. The second car is more restrained, more British, more silent. A black Land Rover Range Rover Classic, the first true luxury SUV, boxy, noble, and endlessly capable. While the Mercedes roared, the Range Rover whispered. It wasn't about flash, it was about retreat. Jack used it when he didn't want to be seen, when he'd disappear into the hills, when Hollywood became too loud, and the canyon winds offered a better soundtrack than red carpets ever could. The engine hums gently, a 3.5-liter V8 that doesn't beg for attention. The interior smells of old leather and pine needles. And somewhere in the glove box, a pair of old sunglasses. Faded, familiar. This was the car of solitude, of reflection, of leaving everything behind and loving it. Toyota Corolla, the curveball. And then, the surprise. Tucked in the back of the garage, almost embarrassed to be here, sits a Toyota Corolla. Simple, reliable, utterly un-Hollywood. And yet, here it is. And it was Jack's daily driver in his later years. Why? Because rebellion doesn't always roar. Sometimes it shrugs. The Corolla was his way of saying, I don't need to prove anything anymore. No luxury badge, no V12 engine, just a car, with 4 wheels, a working radio, and the freedom to go unnoticed. It was the anti-celebrity choice, and for Jack, it made perfect sense. These 3 cars, the Royal, the Retreat, and the Rebel, aren't just vehicles. They're chapters, episodes in a life of contrast. They carried him through premieres, through protests, through parties at Brando's house. They carried lovers, friends, scripts, regrets. They heard laughter, and maybe a few tears. Today, they rest. Engines cold, memories warm. But not all of Jack Nicholson's collections lived in garages. Some hung on walls. Some shimmered in sunlight. Some are worth more than any car. And reveal a man obsessed, not just with motion, but with meaning. Let's step into his most valuable gallery, art collection. When the cameras stopped rolling, when the crowds faded, and when even the applause turned to whispers, Jack Nicholson went looking for something else, something quieter, something eternal. He found it in art. Long before it was fashionable for celebrities to hang Picassos in their foyers, long before auctions became Instagram spectacle, Jack was already collecting, quietly, obsessively, deliberately. He began in the 1960s, when most actors were buying fast cars or fast homes. But Jack? Jack walked into galleries, sat in silence, stared at brushstrokes like he was reading scripts. Because to him, these weren't decorations. They were dialogue. Between madness and genius. Between chaos and structure. Between artist and actor. Today, his personal collection is estimated at $150 million. But how do you put a price on soul? Among his pieces, Pablo Picasso, wild, fragmented emotion, much like Jack himself. Henri Matisse, color and curve, bold and soft all at once. Claude Monet, impressionist serenity, where time dissolves in light. Edgar Degas, with ballerinas frozen in motion. Amedeo Modigliani, all elongated melancholy and mystery. He even owns sculptures by Auguste Rodin, whose marble bodies seem to breathe in stillness. On his walls, René Magritte, the surrealist whisperer painting what dreams hide, and Fernando Botero, whose plump, exaggerated figures somehow felt grounded in truth. To walk through Jack Nicholson's home is to walk through history, not just cinematic, but artistic. These are not museum loans. They are his, chosen with instinct, bought with passion, kept with reverence. And here's the thing. He didn't collect for status. He didn't boast. He didn't show them off at parties. He bought art for the same reason he acted, because it made him feel, because it made him think, because it made silence speak. There's a story, whispered like many Jack stories, that he once turned down a blockbuster role just to fly to Paris and attend a Modigliani exhibit. No press, no entourage, just Jack and the canvas. Because for him, beauty wasn't a luxury, it was a necessity. In many ways, his collection mirrors his life. Dramatic, unapologetic, imperfect, timeless. Each piece was chosen in a moment, a flash of connection, a gut reaction, much like the roles he took, much like the women he loved, much like the life he lived. And now, in the stillness of his Mulholland estate, these works surround him. They hang in corridors lined with rosewood. They glow beneath museum-grade lighting. They listen, like old friends, to laughter, to memory, to the quiet breath of a legend at rest. But if paintings gave Jack meaning, and homes gave him shelter, then one thing gave him something rarer: power. Let's follow the money. Because Jack Nicholson didn't just act in blockbusters. He redefined how actors get paid. $400 million. That's the number. That's the legend. In dollar form. But for Jack Nicholson, wealth was never the headline. It was the freedom to say no, the power to vanish, and the rare privilege to choose art over obligation. It began slowly. In 1974, he earned $500,000 for Chinatown. Already impressive, but just the beginning. A year later, he changed the game. For One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, he negotiated a deal that gave him not just a salary, but a 15% share of profits. That gamble paid off. The film made millions. Jack walked away with $15 million, an unheard-of sum at the time, equivalent to over $60 million today. And with that, he stopped chasing roles. Roles started chasing him. By 1980, The Shining brought him another $1.2 million. Then came Terms of Endearment, a cool $1 million. His base rate? Rising fast. By the late 80s, he was commanding $4 to $5 million per film. But Jack's true financial genius came not on set, but at the negotiation table. Batman, 1989. They offered him $10 million. He said no. Instead, he asked for $6 million up front in exchange for a piece of everything else: box office, merchandise, toy sales, anything Joker-related. The result? Over $60 million earned, maybe more. Adjusted for today, that's $130 million for one performance. Jack didn't just play the Joker, he outsmarted the entire business. The 90s and 2000s, his numbers kept climbing. As Good as It Gets, 1997. $15 million about Schmidt, 2002. $10 million. Anger Management, 2003. $20 million. The Departed, 2006. $10 million. The Bucket List, 2007. $10 million. But for Jack, it wasn't about stacking zeros. It was about saying, if I show up, I matter. If I speak, you'll listen. What did he do with all that money? He bought art. He supported causes. He raised children. He vanished from time to time because he could. His fortune was never loud. It never needed to be. It lived in stone walls, in first editions, in slow afternoons on canyon patios, in silence that no longer needed filling. Jack once said, "I only take roles I can't refuse." The same applied to money. He took it when it meant something, when it gave him room to breathe, to create, to retreat. And now, in his twilight years, he sits not atop an empire, but inside a sanctuary, built brick by brick, scene by scene, deal by deal. But wealth, in Jack Nicholson's world, was never just about what you keep. It was about what you give. And behind the sunglasses, behind the swagger, was a man whose heart often spoke, through kindness. Let's meet Jack the Giver. Philanthropy. One of his earliest causes? Pediatric AIDS. He supported the Elizabeth Glaser Pediatric AIDS Foundation, long before it became fashionable to do so. Because to Jack, illness wasn't about politics. It was about people. He was also a longtime supporter of the Barbara Davis Center for Childhood Diabetes, an organization fighting one of the most invisible battles in children's health. No spotlight, just impact. He showed up when others didn't, signed items, attended events, spoke without a script. Because when Jack believed in something, he showed up. And then there was friendship. In 1991, when Magic Johnson stunned the world with his HIV diagnosis, Jack didn't hesitate. While others distanced themselves, he leaned in. He made early donations to the Magic Johnson Foundation, not as a calculated move, but as a Lakers fan, as a friend, as a human being. He never told the press. They found out years later. That was Jack, loyal to the bone. After 9/11, he stood with a shaken nation, appearing in the telethon America, a tribute to heroes. No grandstanding, just his voice. Heavy, honest, full of weight. He understood that sometimes the greatest power an actor has is knowing when to drop the act. And there were moments of levity, too. Like the Jack Nicholson / Rudy Duran Celebrity Golf Classic, hosted alongside Dennis Hopper and Don Cheadle. It wasn't just a social event. It was a fundraiser for children's charities, blending laughter with legacy. Jack didn't need to be the star. He was the heartbeat. He also gave in smaller ways, intimate ways. He signed auction items for fans in need, showed up at charity events unannounced, offered autographs, time, conversation. Because sometimes kindness doesn't come with a camera crew. Sometimes it just comes because it should. People often mistake silence for absence. But Jack was never absent. He just didn't need the world to applaud when he gave. His giving wasn't about image. It was about intention. Because beneath the wild eyes, the untamed grin, and the unforgettable roles was a man who knew how fragile life was, and how powerful love could be when it moved without needing recognition. He once said, "I used to think that one of the signs of a great person was that they gave things without people knowing." If that's true, Jack Nicholson wasn't just a great actor. He was a great man. But behind every act of generosity, every dollar given, every hour spent, there's always a story closer to the heart. A quieter story. One not told on screen, but lived in the in-between. Let's enter Jack's final chapter, his personal life. The one the cameras never really saw. Personal life. He was never married, but he was rarely alone. Jack Nicholson, the eternal bachelor, the lover of many, the husband of none. Over the years, he fathered 6 children with 5 women. There were romances that lit up tabloids. Angelica Houston, fiery, formidable, unforgettable. Laura Flynn Boyle, mysterious, magnetic. Rebecca Broussard, the mother of 2 of his children. But for Jack, love was never something to be contained in headlines. It was complicated, fleeting, honest. And when asked if he regretted never marrying, he once smiled and said, "I'm not sure I was built for it." Maybe he wasn't. But what he built instead was a life full of people, stories, and love in all its fractured, beautiful forms. These days, he's rarely seen. No premieres, no interviews, no cameos. He's retreated, not out of bitterness, but out of choice. He lives quietly now, splitting time between his Mulholland estate, his retreat in Aspen, and his hideaway in Hawaii. No scripts, no directors, just the rhythm of trees, the sound of old records, and maybe the soft laughter of grandchildren nearby. He cheers for the Lakers, still a courtside spirit, even if his body isn't always there. He walks slowly now. His voice is quieter, his steps more measured, but his mind? Still sharp, still restless, still somewhere between madness and clarity. Friends say he's content, that he talks about the past not with regret, but with wonder, that he knows what he had. And more importantly, he knows what he didn't need. Because for Jack Nicholson, the spotlight was never the point. The point was the life lived between takes, the joy between scenes, the stories between scripts, the the silence after applause. There's an elegance in knowing when to exit, when to leave the stage and return to the man behind the character. That's where Jack is now. Not gone, just watching. From above. From Mulholland. From memory. In the end, maybe that's the most Nicholson thing of all. To live like a legend, and then vanish like a ghost, leaving behind stories carved in stone, painted on canvas, and driven into pavement. He never needed a final performance. His life was enough. If this journey into Jack Nicholson's hidden world moved you, his fortress in the hills, his silent fortune, his legacy carved in art and memory, then don't just watch and go. Like, share, subscribe, because behind every closed door, there's always another legend waiting to be found.